Hello everybody, welcome back to It's Current Year for another Ent Ladder showdown between myself and GGX's Ninja. It's the Vampire Counts versus the Dark Elves, a terrible matchup and not a particularly fun one to watch, but there were some interesting elements of this game that I thought warranted some discussion, some new ideas from my opponent, and a few little tidbits here and there that I thought it would make for an interesting cast. So first and foremost, this is obviously a terrible matchup for the Vampire Counts traditionally. What you see here from the Dark Elves is pretty much the norm. A Halberd box with Blackguard, who are pretty nasty to deal with. You know, good stats for an elite Halberd unit. They actually have some decent weapon strength against non-large targets with 44 majority AP, but they have a very nasty bonus versus large, and immune to psychology, which against undead factions is obviously very important. A couple of units of Witch Elves, one of which is the Sisters of Singing Doom, good for rampaging things, picking out Dragon Lords, characters, that kind of thing, getting them into poor engagements with the Blackguard of Naggarond. In the back here, we have 3 units of regular Blackheart Corsairs. I'll talk a bit more about them lately, but a bit later on, but they, I guess, do excel at chopping through zombies. They might have a few other units that they might struggle against here. We've got a Hydra, which I thought was an interesting pick. Breath attacks might be able to thin out some infantry. Regen makes it fairly self-sufficient. It's sort of just a big angry monster that wades through the front line, causes some disruption. We'll see how it goes. And leading the force is Malekith the Witch King, and this is where it got sort of interesting for me. My opponent has come in with the Supreme Spell Shield, which does decrease power reserves. Obviously, this is a very small frontage sort of fight, I guess, with the Dark Elves boxing up. So it doesn't have a massive area of effect. 40 meters isn't huge, but it is, I guess, debuffs my power reserve, which is good for making my healing a little bit less effective. Summons. He's also got the Circlet of Iron, which is a 100% miscast chance, similar to Thorax Anvil of Doom. So again, if I'm summoning, it's map wide as well, so it's not just 100 meters within a radius. It is the entire map. So again, summoning, healing causes miscast damage on my potentially my Lord. And we've also got the Destroyer, which adds to ability recharge within a 40-meter radius. So some interesting picks here. Malekith's items are seen as very overpriced and not great, but my opponent has come in here with the full complement. He's also gone with Chillwind and obviously Soul Stealer. Stand Your Ground obviously can affect a lot of troops because we're in a box, and Gaze of Malice for just some chaff clearing. So an interesting pick there for my opponent. Usually you do see Marathi and Assassins, so nice to see something different. For my own force, I've got obviously a little bit of an air force of my own. I have a Vampire of Death. She's just rocking Spirit Leech. 2 units of Vargheists. They can do some decent rear charging. If your opponent does go down the Marathi double dragon route, the Dark Elves can go into the air here. If you are going to take an expensive Dragon Lord, as I have done here with the Blood Dragon, you need something else in the air to protect it in case the Dark Elves go in the air. So we've obviously got Helm of Discord, Raise Dead, Invocation, and then all the other goodies, things like Heart Piercing and the other passive abilities on the Blood Dragon. So Helm of Discord, the real winner here. In this sort of matchup where, like I said, very boxed formation. 4 units of zombies, 3 units of Graveguard with great weapons to try and churn through the Blackguard. We have a White King. Witch Elves are pretty common here because, like I said, when you duck down to try and break the box, they try and rampage you and keep you on the ground, and then the Blackguard come in and do some work. So he's rocking the Scab Scrape, and then we have the Mortis Engine for the debuffing or the AoE healing, as well as the drain. So I'm just sort of going to be organizing my forces. Not a lot to report here in the early game. I'm going to be getting my forces into order for a bit of a wrap, so I can kind of press my opponent in, get some breath attacks down. You'll see the Fellbats coming up here. Basically, the Fellbats are just there to Soak up the charge bonus. If there is an air fight, you can then use them on the ground if you do rout something off. As we see a nice Scab's Wrath going down. Doesn't kill any models, but will do a lot of HP damage to the very lightly armoured Sisters of Singing Doom. I think we saw a Breath Attack come in here as well. Might have done some damage on some Graveguard. Stripped a couple of models off. I think you generally want to use that once things have committed to combat and they're bunched up. But you saw just there my Breath Attack. I think it might have been because the Blackguard moved slightly out of the way, but a bit salty there I was at the start of this game because it did burn one of my Breath Attacks. Soul Stealer going down a little bit too early. It's only going to catch the Dragon Lord. We're just getting our combat, our troops in here sorted out. I'm going to dive down. Pretty bold dive here onto the Vargheists. They are going to get trapped up, unfortunately, on the Black Ark Corsairs. I was just trying to get a bit of a hit and run, but I am going to pull out before the Witch Elves can rampage me and pin me to the ground. And we see an isolated unit of Black Ark Corsairs out over here, ready to get jumped on by the Blood Dragon and some Vargheists, and basically just want to break this down bit by bit. The Dark Elves don't want to get too spread out. Malekith has come over and again did reset my cooldowns with the Destroyer. So as you can see here, my I'm not sure if it shows up on the tooltip, but didn't have Heart Piercing active or anything like this. We will see a Breath Attack go down. Strange, probably not the ideal use of it. You want to use it on the bunched up infantry over here. Getting it down the flank here would be really nice because it would take effect against a number of units and help them win the infantry fight, and then the Blackguard can, you know, concentrate on other things. But we've got our Mortis Engine in here doing a fair bit of draining. The White King is burning down these Blackguard. They've been set upon by the Graveguard, as I see another opportunity here for a nice Breath Attack into the Blackguard. It might also clip the Witch Elves. I am going to duck down in a second, so I have summoned a zombie unit on top of these Witch Elves who have been worked down. They don't really want to fight the Graveguard, and things are going pretty well. We've got the Black Ark's Corsairs having been chased off out this side of the fight. Bit of a pit fight emerging over here. The Vampire of Death was coming down to try and recharge one of these units of Black Ark Corsairs, but she's getting caught in a fight that she doesn't really want to be in. So she's going to pull out now. These Vargheists here probably going to go down because they have been rampaged by the Sisters of Singing Doom. But again, we're just picking off scraps where we can. These Witch Elves have been hunted off. There's another unit of Blackguard of Naggarond out here who have come back to the fight, but they're pretty much out of commission now, given how much HP they've got left, 750 HP. Better Breath Attack there from my opponent, but I've got a fair bit of infantry in here. My Blood Dragon's still very healthy. I haven't really had to use many invocations and that kind of thing. We're chasing off the Black Ark Corsairs with obviously the high AP of the Vargheists. Very weak unit of Black Ark Corsairs over here, and now we're just flying over the top of the formation with the Helm of Discord. You can see the stat debuffs going down over the blob, and my opponent's probably just been a little bit too it's just been pulled apart a little bit too easy, and this is where I maybe don't like the addition of the Black Ark Corsairs. Without the assassins, the double assassin that you normally see alongside Marathi, there hasn't been anything to really put any meaningful damage into the Mortis Engine. You know, its healing cap isn't even in sight yet on the health bar. It's taken a bit of damage, but it is healing and it is stable, and it's probably got some pretty good work done into the Blackguard and the like. Vargheist's just been a nuisance, finishing off this unit of Blackguards. The Vampire of Death has just been Spirit Leeching all game, trying to put damage into the Blackguards, and we're chasing off some Black Ark Corsairs over here. And at this stage, the Mortis Engine's kind of done its job, so I'm kind of just leaving it in the fight here to body block Malekith and the Hydra. I'm going to pull out and refresh my charge bonus. I'm not sure if I had a Breath Attack going down here. No, it looks like it's just a Spirit Leech with onto Malekith, but I think I am going to come back in now with the Blood Dragon. And yeah, we're just going to finish off the Hydra, who is going to shatter, and Malekith, who is going to follow suit, and that is going to be a victory. So we saw some interesting uses of Malekith's items, and he's got some pretty good value here. And I can obviously this isn't a live cast, but there were a number of times when I went to use my abilities and they were on cooldown because of Destroyer. There were a number of times where I did notice him taking miscast damage from the Supreme Spell Shield. So I'm not sure what Malekith comes to. He's probably quite expensive with all these three items because they're all around the 200 gold mark, all three of them. which is generally why they're not taken, because they're seen as a little bit overpriced. But I just thought it was really interesting. He's got some good damage value back. I only really saw one Soul Stealer go down on my Dragon Lord. But food for thought, at the very least, for this matchup. Possibly a different way to build into it. The thing that I really think let my opponent down here were the Black Art Corsairs. They're a bit of a weak link here. Corsairs with Hambos would be fine because, again, Mortis Engine, despite looking like an ethereal unit, doesn't have a lot of physical resistance or armor, and can be actually poked down just through weight of fire. It's why the double assassins can also do a similar job. They'll also pick models off stuff like Vargeist as well, who have both got reasonable value here. Both of them nearly getting their cost back. I think I threw the Fellbats in a little bit too early, and they didn't do much in the end. They should have been reserved for chase off duty. But yeah, I mean, a little bit of a different spin on the Dark Elf box that I found quite interesting. Blackguard still just do what they do. They held decently. They haven't got a lot of value between them, but obviously the breath attacks can be pretty punishing on Blackguard if you're not conscious and you can't pull them out of the way. Hydra's an interesting pick. It's got good value. I kind of feel like the breath attacks could have been used a lot better, because I was bunched up with my infantry. Witch Elves are obviously a good element of this build. You can probably get away with just taking the Sisters of Singing Doom. Again, you've got to be careful with the Scabscraths, because Scabscrath has a good damage output against stuff without a lot of armor. It's not going to do much to anything else in this build, but you're taking it to thin the Witch Elves down so you can dive bomb a little bit more freely. But yeah, the Vampire has got some good Spirit Leeches in. Again, she's chased some stuff off. Mortis Engine's just sat and grinded and got some good value back. Graveguard with great weapons. They trade decently for their cost into the Blackguard, but yeah, the zombies take the brunt of the attacks from the Dark Elves, and this one's managed to make its cost back. So yeah, well played to my opponent. This was game 3 of a series, so I think I had Dark Elves and Vampire counts left, and I didn't want to play the mirror, so I did pick a count pick with a pretty bad matchup. But as a Dark Elf main, you kind of know... Dark Elf main myself, I kind of knew what to expect here. So this is quite similar to the build that you've seen sort of players like Void and Tank and these guys play from VM Clan. It's quite effective. If they go the Marathi Dragon Air Squad, you've got a fighting chance against that. If they go obviously the ground squad, you can dive bomb and get recharges with the Vargeists, which have a very high damage output. You kind of just need to get some work into the Witch Elves ahead of time, otherwise they get trapped on the ground and they just end up dying. But yeah, Malekith with his items, maybe worth considering. I'm not going to make a claim one way or the other right now on whether it's better than Marathi. I think he just needed some better support for him. So cut the Black Art Corsairs down to a couple of Dread Spears and maybe some Corsair Hambos. Probably cut this unit of Witch Elves and just try and get by with the Sisters of Singing Doom and have them as a sort of a response piece. Might have some legs. A little bit of a different take on the Dark Elf box. Anyway, quick one for today, and hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, take care.